Hello everyone, it's Andrew again. Haven't made a video in a little while, but I thought I'd hop on here and show you how I used my Zettelkasten this past weekend. Essentially, that's with writing my final paper for a class I'm taking with the analog Zettelkasten. So, I want to show you how you prepare for a final essay in a class you're taking. A lot of the classes are structured essentially with having small writing assignments throughout the semester, maybe a midterm writing assignment, and then usually ending with a final essay or a final paper or a final writing assignment. And that's essentially what I had for this class, Biblical Theology of the Old Testament, Ladder, Prophets, and Writings. This is a class I just finished up this past weekend. I actually have my final class period tonight, but I just finished up the final essay. And essentially, I did it with the analog Zettelkasten, which made it pretty simple. I don't want to say it was easy. I typically won't believe people telling you, oh my word, do this and everything's going to be so easy for you. But it was very simple with using the analog Zettelkasten. So I want to show you how I did that and essentially how you use the analog Zettelkasten to actually write something. So from day one, what you got to do is you got to look at the prompt for the essay. So this prompt is available on the syllabus. If your prompt isn't available in the syllabus, you should ask your professor what the prompt will be for your final essay, because this is going to help you. Or if he doesn't have a prompt, at least have him give you a general direction of what the final essay is going to be about, because that's essentially going to drive a lot of what you do next. So what you do when you start a new class, or maybe you're in the middle of a class right now and you just want to get started with this, you look at that prompt for the final essay. And typically that prompt is actually going to include a lot of things from the midterm and a lot of things from smaller writing assignments. So essentially, you want to have this goal in mind when you're taking notes with the analog Zettelkasten. So for my particular essay, it was going to be covering prophecy and wisdom in the Old Testament, essentially looking at a biblical theology of both of those concepts. Seems like there's not a lot of interaction with those two in the essay, but essentially having a two-part essay of addressing both those concepts. So I had that in mind when I was taking my notes for this class. And to be honest, I started that off kind of late. So I really started taking notes geared towards this specific essay like halfway through the semester. And it was still very, very helpful for me when I wrote my final essay. So essentially, what I was doing is I was very conscious of if there's ever a concept in class or any concept in my reading for this class that was about prophecy or that was about wisdom, I made sure to note it down because I knew that was going to be super helpful for me in my final essay. So this is my final essay here. Not that I want you guys to read it, but this is it. And essentially how I did that was when this weekend rolled around, I essentially opened up my index and I found everything relating to prophecy and wisdom. So if I go to my W here and I find wisdom, this is going to tell me where different cards related to wisdom are located in my Zettelkasten. So I have Wisdom Literature of the Bible is 1112A, and then there's some notes basically stemming from that, and then there's Wisdom in the Christian Life, which is 4120. So 4120/1, I should say. So if I go into my Zettelkasten now and essentially look for those, so I'm looking for 1112A. So here's 1112A, Wisdom Literature in the Bible. This. Okay, we essentially have all of these cards. So types of wisdom, wisdom literature in the Bible. Okay, so I've got these three cards in that section. And then if I want to look at 4120, I come here, look for 4120, it's 4210. It's a bit of a slow process. Said it before, say it again. Hard to do with one hand. Okay, we're getting close. Okay, 4120/1, so we're just about there. Here we go. Wisdom in the Christian life. Boom. All right. So now all these cards are related to wisdom in the Christian life. So, okay. We got those. Okay, that's wisdom. I'm going to put this back into our index. I am starting to outgrow my index box, so I might want to get a new one soon. Now we're going to look for prophecy. Okay. Should be behind productivity. Prophecy. Okay. So here I have prophecy, prophets, biblical theology. So almost all of these are in 3002. And then we have 1302 as well. So if we go to 3000, it's 3001. This is 3002. So this is biblical theology of prophets and prophecy. So if we pull all of these, you have a good chunk of cards here. Okay. That's some information on prophecy. And then 1302, it's the book of Exodus, I believe. You go to 1302. I'm just doing this with you. I'm just taking you guys along for this ride. This is about as slow as it goes when I'm actually doing this. And this is part of what makes this process, slow and deliberate. So we got that. One thing that I know just from how I put these cards together, there's more cards that I could draw from, and that gives me an idea of things I probably should add to this card. I know that there's actually some more information in my notes in the book of Amos that would probably be relevant to this discussion, so I should probably pull those out. So if I go here and I find the book of Amos, Daniel, Hosea, the book of Amos, I know that a couple of these cards are going to be really helpful for me. So I should probably add these to my index, just as a side note. But okay, that's essentially everything in my Zettelkasten related to wisdom and prophecy that I've just pulled out. Appreciate you guys being along for the ride here. Put this back in a sec. But now essentially, imagine that I have a blank page here. Imagine that I just have a completely blank page and I'm just starting to write my essay. This is what everyone's going to be faced with. But now, instead of having to comb back through my notebook where all my notes are, kind of in line with a bunch of other notes, I essentially have here all of these ideas, and not just atomized ideas, but I essentially have a bunch of chains of ideas captured here in these cards. So at this point, it's basically just a matter of looking at these cards and arranging them in the order that I want them to in the essay. So if I want to start with wisdom, I look here, I look at, okay, I've got different definitions of wisdom. So I've got different people's definitions of how they would define wisdom. Interesting. And then I have different types of wisdom literature in the Bible. We have proverbial wisdom, reflective wisdom. We have, going into that a little bit deeper, how do I want to arrange this? I could lay this out exactly how I want to. And then essentially when I have an idea of where I'm going with this, I'm not just copy and pasting this into my essay, which is I think how a lot of people do with digital Zettelkasten systems. They essentially do the same thing here. They just pull all this stuff out, they arrange it, and they basically just dump it all into their Word document. You could do that, but what I found just recently this past weekend, what's really awesome about having it, on paper and having to transfer it into your Word doc is essentially you're adding things, you're expanding things, you are elaborating on things. You're almost going through another process of selection or another process of thinking, another process of reflection when you're adding these notes into your essay. So you're essentially you essentially don't have to think about new content when you're writing. You essentially have all your content. You're just, when you're writing, you're thinking through it and connecting it and expanding upon it. and going even deeper with it. So that's what makes this really special and what makes it very simple to write. Not saying it's easy to write. Writing is never easy. It's essentially just making the whole process a lot more simple. You're essentially able to just lay out all your ideas and then essentially go to your Word document and type it all in and think through it and weave it together. So that's essentially what I did with my essay, and it was very simple. So just to reiterate, find the prompt for your final essay, keep it in mind, write it down, I don't know, print it out, have it in front of you, have it top of mind as you're taking notes, because that's essentially what you're going to be using your notes for at the end of the class. So that's how you should really think about your Zettelkasten for everything you're doing. Like, what are you working towards? You know what I mean? Because you can't possibly take notes on everything. You have to be selective with what you take notes for, and a goal is really going to guide you on what you want to take notes for. So what I'm using my Zettelkasten for today, a lot of it is my class. So I'm putting things in there for my class, and who knows, these notes might be very useful for me in future writing projects. But for now, it's just for this essay. But they're going to live in there for the rest of the time I'm using my Zettelkasten. So yeah, whether you're writing a book, whether you're writing articles, whether you're writing sermons, whether you're writing who knows what, it's just, maybe you're even making YouTube videos. It doesn't really matter. You're writing scripts. Essentially have a goal in mind and take notes that are going to help you out when you actually sit down to write those things. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope this is helpful for you. Hopefully this just gives you some more ideas of how you can apply this to your own work. But with that being said, peace out.